Hello, podcast lovers. Thank you so much for coming back. I'm your host, Žana, and today I have my very first amazing couple on the show. I'm so excited. I wanted to dedicate an episode like that to married couples and basically speak on certain things that at one point, if anybody out there has been in a long-term relationship, has been married, or has been cohabitating with somebody, these kind of topics maybe resonate with you, but I'm so blessed and I'm so honored. Miss Candace and Mr. Ramon are my guests today. And obviously, there's so many cool things that you guys do, not only in your own home, but also for others out there, which we'll be talking about all of that. But first of all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for opening up your hearts and your story and sharing with me some vulnerable parts of yours in the hopes and in the prayer that whoever hears this can obviously grow from it and hopefully maybe not make the same mistake or maybe pivot from something that they maybe wanted to do, but listening to this, they're actually pivoting back and not. So
Okay.
welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. We are excited to be here.
Yes.
I'm so glad that you come. So, obviously when we had our first initial conversation, I found out that you guys are 22 years married. So, first of all, congratulations. That is a huge milestone in one's life to really be 22 years with the same human being and knowing that human being for such a long time. I feel like almost when I hear stories like that, I want to assume that when you, Candace, think of your husband and he needs something, it's almost like without words. Like if you're in a grocery store or you see something or you see something on TV, something, and you're like, man, that's right there. Or like, this is fitting, like kind of like communication without communication, if that makes any
Right.
sense, that true telepathic bond that
Yeah.
that a couple shares. But
It can
how
be
did you
very. It's interesting. It's interesting, and I would say that because you have those moments, but then when you're growing and you're learning, like as you were speaking about it, I remember like he started buying certain clothes. And I'm like, you like that? He was like, yeah, like in those moments, like, okay, he's changing. So let me be mindful, let me be watching. So yeah, he has this new style that he's coming into. But yeah, you do, and you've been together for so long. This year, as you were saying that, we'll celebrate 23 years. So we'll actually have been together 30 years coming up
Wow.
like in about October. So it's been a long time.
A long time. That's like half of your lifetime, in a sense, if we look at it from another way. That's kind of like
Yeah.
half of somebody's whole life being on Earth.
Yeah. And that's what we say. We like been together longer than what we have not been together because we met when we was 18.
Wow. So did you guys meet in high school? Because I'm so curious to find
I,
out. Did you guys meet in high school?
our freshman year in college, actually.
Oh, wow. Wow. That first love, huh? It
1995. That goes
oh my good,
back.
1995. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so
He ain't gotta
amazing.
be saying the year and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. In Germany, they have such a funny saying. They say, old love never gets rusty. Obviously, it sounds a little bit cooler in German when you say it, but in a sense, the meaning is that a true, really old, rooted love will never get any. I mean, it might get rained on and it might get little dents and little bumps and whatever, but it will never get rusty to the point where you can, when a bike is really rusty and you can't really use it because the pedals
Uh-huh.
are all like messed up, it won't ever get like that because it's so rooted into something higher. Um, and so yeah, I mean, I'm so happy for this conversation. I'm so excited. I actually want to jump in right in, and I want to find out when you obviously when you got married and when you walked through life together, what was like, in your opinion, when you look at all your issues and really all the problems that you mastered together or individually being together, what was kind of like the hardest thing that you guys both faced as a couple? What would you say was that?
Say that.
You go. What would you say?
The hardest thing we faced
Mm.
as a couple, I would say Early on in our marriage, I lost my job at one point. And the struggle that came with it. It wasn't one particular thing. It was a financial struggle, but that spiraled into another struggle as well. I think a little loss of respect from my wife, communication became an issue with us because of that. So I believe, I would say that would be, you know, that, well, for me, I think that was, yeah. What would you say?
And that was very early on in our marriage. And I don't know, as you were speaking, I think we started having some challenges when I began to heal intentionally, and in my healing and in my excitement and in my new awarenesses, I feel like I exerted all of that energy onto him and he wasn't ready for it. And in my mind, it's like, what? Like, why you can't get this? Why? And so it created some tension there, you know. So yeah, so I think those were two different points. Like that was early on in our life, and this situation probably happened about 5 years ago. So I think those were, for me, the two pivotal. So I would agree with him on that one, though.
Yeah. I want to touch base on what you said, Ramon, is when you said, you know, when that one struggle started to actually become a problem later on, the financial aspect of you maybe losing a job, and then that evolved into another struggle. That's so interesting to me because isn't it so that sometimes when we bring one problem to the table, all of a sudden we see the branches of that problem, and then when communication part within each other, or even the part of us not yet being quite whole, or we haven't healed from wounds that we either brought into the marriage because we were not aware of them, for instance, or we were aware of them and thought, well, you know what, you know that about me anyway, I'm gonna bring it, so you got to deal with it, or because you haven't found the actual way to actually really heal that wounded part of you, is really what I found when I speak to other people is that sparks such a bigger broad of now problems, because now we have one on the table, but all of a sudden we have this whole buffet of problems where it's like, where do we go from here? You know? And then how did you guys manage to deal with that? Did you actually have conversations about like, look, this is a problem, and then in order for this not to get bigger and to fester, let's just address this? Or did it really all then started to intertwine and it became like a whole nice big salad with a bunch of ingredients?
Yeah, we definitely did not, I would say, handle that correctly. You know, hindsight 2020, we didn't, okay, this is a problem, let's address it.
Right.
Let's work as a team, you know.
Right.
And so then it did start, it just became one thing after another, silent treatments. Oh God, it was a hideous mess to the point we were almost we were considering divorce 10 years into our marriage. I think that happened maybe like a year 3 or 4, maybe 2, 3, somewhere up in there. So we went a long time, what I would say, in a valley.
Yeah.
It was way, because I know what I know now. It was our working together for our good, but it was also unnecessary if we would have had the skills or the tools, or if we were healed, knew our stuff that we were bringing in, but we end up going to get counseling, and that kind of broke the pattern of what we were doing to allow us to start getting on a different path with one another. But it was a hard 6, 7, 8 years. It was definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, you know, sometimes that's exactly where it happens, right? Is right at that time where I feel like the enemy just kind of like sort of slowly sneaks in. I mean, he kind of follows like a shadow, and then all of a sudden this is happening and that is happening. And then if we don't look for help, you know, like counseling, like therapy, like books, like podcasts, or like talking to other married friends, you know, that can turn into a big issue. But I'm so curious, when you said counseling, was that kind of like sort of coming just from one person in your unit, or did both of you kind of came to each other and said like, look, we need to do something here? Or was it one person of you, kind of like the driver, that said, okay, I really think we need to have something, and then the other person just agreed? Or how was that experience for you?
No, she brought it to me that we needed to do it, but I was in agreement because we never mentioned the word divorce to each other, but we were both thinking it. And she was like, look, we need help. And I had the mindset that if we're gonna go down, let's go down swinging. Let's get some help. And if it doesn't work, we can honestly look back and say we tried. And we got help, and it just couldn't save us, or it was just too late. So she brought it to my attention to go to counseling, and I just agreed to do it as well.
Wow, you know what, I want to speak out respect to you, Ramon, in all honesty, because you know, so often do we have men in our life, or men idols, that when this is being brought to them, it's being taken so personal, and the ego side of strong men kicks in, and then they say, well, you know what, no, I don't want to listen to anybody, and for sure not if the therapist is a female, because she's going to side with you, and all of those stigmas that our unhealed self a lot of times brings. And I'm so thankful, and I have so much respect for you that you actually said, you know what, I love this woman so much, and she's right. You know, besides, I am the husband, and I am obviously the 51% according to the Bible, you know. But with that being said, you know, that's my wife. You know, God gave her to me for a reason, and if she says this to me, that's an alarm for me. You know, that's like a red flag where I have to react to that. And I'm glad you did, because, you know, who knows what would have happened if maybe that part of you, of becoming a man, maintaining your manhood, you know, from the people that were in your life, either showing you or not showing you, because all of that plays such a role too.
Yes, it
But
does.
but yet you decided, no matter what was said, good or bad, to me when I was growing up, this is my person here.
Right, because I knew that we was in troubled waters, and I didn't want to lose my wife. I didn't like her at the time. I didn't like her at all, actually. I loved her, but I didn't like her at the time. But I did not want to lose this marriage. And if it was going to end, I wanted to exhaust all avenues of trying to make this work. So when she brought it up to me, it wasn't that hard of a yes, because of the love that I had for her, and what we have, and truly not wanting to let it go. So it really wasn't that difficult at that moment, because I knew, like, Stevie Wonder could have saw that we needed help. So it wasn't too hard for me to agree to it.
To really get it.
Jen, you
Go
said
ahead.
something. It has sparked my brain, and I know this is your podcast, but I just
No,
want you
please.
to elaborate. When
It's
you
your floor.
said men idols, what does that mean?
You know, like fathers, grandfathers, uncles, caregivers, people that really play a significant role when we grow up, that teach us things, you know, that speak to us about how a husband, for instance, should be, or an idol, or maybe idol is the wrong way, but how you say that in English? You know, when you have a role model.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, and sometimes if we have that, it might not be the best. Sometimes if we don't have that, it might be not okay. If we have it and it's okay, even then it's not okay. You know, there's no right or there's no wrong. It's not to say that people who have role models in their life, or people that are married around them, that their marriage is going to be more better than others that don't. But yet we are being influenced, I truly believe, by our first caregivers, whoever are teaching us about specific things, either becoming a woman, you know, or becoming a man, especially then on another note, in Christ, right? Like rooted in God, and really fulfilling God's mission by being married under God's umbrella is obviously a whole nother ball game than just deciding to get married just because I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, to me, at least. That's how
No, that's that is one of the biggest, I'm just going to use this word for lack of a better word, the biggest issue.
Yeah.
We're getting married on some, I love you, but we're not getting married to say, I want to live like God has called me to live. Just unawareness. It's just not looked at that deep when people are getting married. It's, oh, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life, but we're not going into it like, I want to be the man that God has called me to be for you. I want to be the woman that God has called me to be. We don't know the meaning and the purpose of marriage, and we didn't really discover that it was one until we were 10 years in.
Right.
And we had premarital counseling, and it was never brought up. So we are intentional about supporting people in the spiritual aspect of things and truly healing, because I just believe if I would have known that it was a purpose, that is a certain design other than what you grew up hearing, oh, you be submissive to your husband, oh, you supposed to be a provider. It's so much deeper than that. And you know, marriage is calling us to heal our inner children and all the stuff that we were going through. If we would have gotten that, if we would have had even a spiritual counselor to speak to that level, we could have been healing. We could have been intentionally healing. Like God was trying to heal us, but we fighting each other because we think it's about the other person and we're not looking at ourselves. And this is God trying to heal some childhood wounds within Candace to make her a better person. And people just don't see marriage like that. But I'm intentional about helping them see it like God wants us to see it.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's also very embarrassing. You know, I found for myself that it was very embarrassing at times to admit what flaws I really actually had, you know, and what wounds really came out, especially in an argument situation, especially in a situation where I felt irritated or I felt disrespected. Because I'll just give you a personal example. When I grew up with my parents were the most amazing parents, and I was so fortunate to have parents like that. And they literally, from telling me to showing me physical love, verbal love, I had it all. And I literally just needed to do this. And I had everything I desired in my life. I had a fantastic childhood. But with that being said, I did not learn from my parents because I saw them argue a lot. The same way they argued really heavy, they also loved each other very heavy, right? And it was a big, big bang, boom. And then like 10 minutes later, it was all quiet again, like nothing happened. And to me, that became normal because I'm like, oh, I guess you can throw plates. I mean, it didn't really happen in my household, but I'm saying verbally throw plates and have this big boom explosion. And then just 10 minutes later, you all cool again and we're watching TV. But really what I didn't see is the aspect of the conversation that they had privately with each other, working it out. I didn't see that part. I just heard the bang and the quietness. So for me, when I grew up, I didn't learn necessarily to express myself, what I felt. That was hard for me because all I remembered is, oh, she was angry. And when she was angry, it was this big boom. So I converted that into my, adulthood. If I'm angry, I have to let the big boom out. But in the same way, I can be cool again with you because something in between is obviously happening. But that in between caused so much havoc. Havoc? What's the word? Havoc? Yeah. For myself and in my relationships with humans, that it took me a very long time to even understand where it's coming from, and when I was intentionally working on myself, that's when God showed me. That's when all of a sudden examples from my childhood came back to me out of nowhere. And I was reading a book at the time, and it's called it's a really, really amazing book. You read it for it's like an exercise, and you do the exercise for 40 days after, and it's called I have to think about it. It will cross my mind. I want to.
And when you think about it, you make sure you email it to me.
Yeah, but I will. And so, once I started reading that book, and I'm like, oh my God, now I get it. Like I understand, but in that scenario, being in it, all I saw was you hurt me and you disrespected me and you're not listening to me. And I don't know how else to tell you, because I didn't know how to verbally express.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge problem in my relationship, an absolute huge problem, because obviously my partner at the time felt so disrespected because I could voice everything else except for my emotions. So every vocabulary out of the dictionary would come out except for really what I felt. And that's really like the main problem. So I'm so curious, did that ever happen to you too, Candace, as a woman? Because I find sometimes we women, we have always something to say. Isn't it so that sometimes we always want to say something, but that learning to be quiet, really sitting in solitude with yourself and taking a moment and then coming back to the actual issue. How was that for you in your marriage? Like, is that something you master from the beginning, or is that something where you like drop the ball?
Yeah, definitely didn't master that from the beginning. Not at
Right.
all.
Right.
What I learned, like I started my journey of becoming a spiritual life coach in 2019. Been raised in church all my life, but going through that program for a year, I had to heal myself. Like we were our own clients. And so oh my God, to begin to unfold and see the things and why I do what I do. And it was mind blowing to me. And it's like, once you see it, once you get on that healing journey, for me and the people that I know, it does not stop. It almost becomes intoxicating, because not only are you discovering yourself, you discovering God. And so it just is like, I want more of him, but as I get more of him, I'm learning about me. And so, like you were saying, for me growing up, my mama was the ideal traditional submissive wife that you hear based on what I saw. So
Right.
very humble, very meek, all of that. But there were things that I also saw that I'm like, I ain't gonna be like that. I am not going to allow that in my marriage, and fighting so hard that not to be me. In certain times, I realized I absolutely was showing up exactly like what I saw. When I should have been using my voice versus, now I do have what I would say some of my daddy in me too, so I will voice it, but I sometimes I didn't want to voice it for the sake of keeping peace.
Right.
But it was peace externally, but I didn't have no peace internally. And then once I became like, that came before, that probably came when we was like in the midst of all of the stuff. And I'm like, I want peace for everybody else, but I don't have no peace within me because I'm being quiet. Like, no. So you got to find out a way to speak your truth, and, you know, with being respectful with it. And so childhood is so real.
So
And
real.
you are not only marrying the adult version, you are marrying the child, and everything that they have been through, you are marrying that. And we do not realize that when we get married, and we think everything is about them and what that. But they are coming into your life for a reason, and they're bringing all that stuff to the surface. And so as a couple, you can choose to look at it together, and y'all commit to, we're going to help each other heal. And we gotta, it takes a whole team mindset. But yeah, I absolutely, childhood played a big part in it. Even with me, I can do stuff by myself. That ain't no good mindset to have as a wife. I don't need you for nothing. I'll do it myself. I get it done myself.
Yeah.
And at first, it was not coming from a place of, it was just like, that's just me. I'm just A-type. I go. And I didn't have a problem with it until it became a problem. But now we done created a pattern where you've been doing everything, but now I want him to lead. Now I want him to do that. And now I got an issue. But no, ma'am, you got to give time to break some patterns that y'all have created over a decade. And so, yeah, childhood is real.
It's real. And yeah, when you said, marrying that inner child, it's the healed part and it's the unhealed part, and it's also the undiscovered part of one.
That's
Because
good.
sometimes we don't even discover, we don't even remember what had happened, or if something traumatic maybe had happened, you purposefully train your brain to just push that aside and act like it never happened. But if it's an unhealed thing, it will show up in
It
a
will
different
show
area
up.
of your life, and then to even get started to go on a journey, find where the wound was originally created is a whole nother thing. And I'm really resonating with what you said, that you pretended outer peace, but you were at turmoil with your inner. And that's huge, that's really huge, because for me, when I was in that spot, I created so much resentment. I created so much resentment, not necessarily towards, also towards my partner, but so much towards myself. Because now everything became, well, you overstep my boundaries and you don't respect me and you don't hear me. But really, I wasn't respecting myself either at all. I didn't listen to myself. I didn't tell myself, like, look, is this something that irritates me? Yes. But where is it coming from? Is this really the problem, or is something else the problem?
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to be like, well, you're in front of me. It has to be you. Who else? Is it the neighbor? No, you're in the house. I mean, it's not the neighbor. It's not the nanny. It's not the gardener. It's obviously you are in my, in the house, and you're causing me to feel this way. And I feel like sometimes that gets mixed up so fast that then it causes this ripple effect of like, okay, and last week you did that, and a year ago, and here we are. And then when we put in now grudge holding, when we just throw that word in, grudge holding, it creates a whole nother thing. Because when you're not ready to just really seriously, honestly forgive and give grace and really move on, you holding on to issues that we already had, but we had a conversation, but you're holding on to it here. There's nothing I can do. I cannot jump in your heart and make it better. You have to decide, either you're going to forgive me for real or you don't, you know?
Absolutely. And forgiveness is a big part.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. How do you guys practice forgiveness, like now in your marriage? Like, or how do you practice now forgiveness differently than what you used to?
I'm gonna let him handle this one.
How do we handle forgiveness? Simple, just by doing it.
It's not that simple. No, it's not.
First of all, let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. And it may look differently for the both of us.
Right.
I may not forgive until after I have my alone time. I may not verbally say anything, but we can easily tell when the other person is up. When you've been with someone we've been together literally in each other's lives 30 years. Married 22, but we've been in each other's lives 30. When she's bothered, whether she's saying something or not, I know.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Right. But a lot of times, self-reflection is huge for me. I'm able to honestly sit back. I need me a nice cigar, give me a little tequila. Ramon, you was wrong. What the hell was you thinking? You know what? No, she was wrong too. Hell no. I ain't wrong. But I can look back and reflect and be like, you know what, baby? I apologize. I have zero issues with letting my wife know I'm sorry. Now, forgiveness may come 2-3 days later. But the one thing I will say, we're not verbally abusive. We're not disrespectful in the sense of where we cussing each other out, calling each other names. We're not crossing those thresholds. We may have a conversation, but it's a short conversation. We're not just in a deep thought conversation, because right now I could tell she's bothered, or she could tell I'm a little upset. And we will give each other space. Now, we're not going a week, 3-4 days and not speaking, but at that moment, if she realized, okay, he's still dealing with it, he needs to process something, she will give me my space a day or so to process whatever it is I'm feeling, thinking, and then we come to the table and talk. And then it's easier for me to forgive at that moment.
And I would say, to add on to what he said, and this is to any couple that is listening, any individual that's listening, forgiveness is freedom. I don't like, again, I'm telling you, my life was changed in 2019 forever. And I actually went on for people that I felt like I was holding something against. I reached out to them if they were available and had a face-to-face conversation. Please forgive me for my unforgiveness and how I treated you. And it is just, I have no reason to not forgive nobody.
Yeah.
Like, it don't matter what somebody does to me. You are forgiven immediately. Now, do we got to talk about the situation? Yeah, like I don't hold on, because that type of energy is a heart attack type deal, where it is attacking your heart. Literally, it's attacking your soul. And I think sometimes we're holding on to the stuff like, well, I can't let them get away with that.
Right.
But how are you not forgiving them, causing them not to get away? They are living their life. They are moved on. They probably ain't even thinking about you. Or even if you're holding on and it's somebody you see, you still are carrying this heaviness, this toxic energy that you got to exert every time you see them. Like, that's just way too much control to give somebody over your life. So if you are sitting here and not willing to forgive somebody, I don't care if it's your spouse, I don't care if it's an ex, I don't care who it is. Right. Forgive the person. You let God, my best friend said this today. You forgive the person, let God work with what they did. You can't do nothing about what they did. Right. But you be willing to forgive them and understanding everybody is doing the best they could. Whatever they did to hurt you is more than likely came from an unhealed place with themselves or fear within themselves. Like, is no reason to not forgive somebody when you ain't perfect yourself. Now, but in your forgiveness, that doesn't mean you got to keep that person in your life. I'm just releasing the pain. I'm just not gonna carry this heaviness with me all the time. But how I handle you, or how I not handle you, but how I deal with you, that might shift, because I have a right to have boundaries.
Absolutely.
So I encourage, definitely, if you are a married couple and you are still holding on to something your spouse done, because like we take them back, but then you still won't forgive. If you're gonna take them back, you're gonna have to forgive that stuff. You gotta forgive it. Ain't no use of y'all both living in hell because you don't want to forgive what they did, but you want to be with them. Like, no, that's not. Yeah, you gotta forgive them for yourself.
Right.
For yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And I couldn't agree more with you, because, especially that part where you voiced that forgiveness, it's nothing that the other person has something from it, even if you forgive them, because you're not forgiving them so they can walk away with the medal of, I did you wrong and you forgave me. It has nothing to do with that. It's more the part of you understanding that that person, like you said, is most likely acting this way towards you out of unhealed place. And when we look at it from grace, when we look at it just from that point of view of just like, there's this, like, I have an inner child, like everybody has an inner child, and there's this inner child in this human, in this adult body now, that is actually really hurting. And if we're trained ourselves to just look at it from a different perspective and not so much from the ego place, well, you did this to me, therefore, da 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 da, that could be solved so beautifully, like you said. Just because I forgive you, I still have my birthright to set boundaries with you. Now, I will let it go and I'll forgive you. But now, this way, it's not going to happen that you're treating me moving forward. If you do want to be my friend, if you do want to be my whatever, then this is my boundary. If you can respect that, great. If not, thank you for sharing this part with me up till here, and, have a beautiful life moving on. And I also wanted to say or touch on what you said, Ramon, when you said, forgiveness comes after a few days. I can so resonate with that, because I'm a type of person, I would never say I'm sorry to somebody if I'm not really, truly sincere about it. and I need my own time to really do that, what you expressed so amazing. You know, that self-talk battle with me and myself and God, you know, like, no, that was wrong. I didn't like that at all. But okay, was that cool of you? You could have reacted different. Yeah, okay, but. And then the more I did it with myself, the buts that I had to throw out in my self-talk, they would all of a sudden disappear, because now I'm at the place with myself where it's like, at the end of the day, what does it matter? At the end of the day, what does it matter? I want this person in my life. I'm not perfect. They're not perfect. You know, if I apologize and I get reciprocated an apology in return, and now we can actually have a conversation, which I think as a married couple, I'm sure that that's the best way to do it anyway, not to speak in the moment of the heat, but to really just, you know what, this is something I didn't like that at all. I'm gonna take myself to do whatever. I'll go in the living room, or I'll go watch a movie or whatever. And then maybe later we'll come in and talk. I think every couple figures that out for themselves, what their time frame is. But like you said, I think it's really important not to wait very long time either. You know, like wait the time that you know yourself best, how long you will really need to calm down and to have calmly a conversation. But let's not let it fester into, okay, I'm giving it a day, I'm giving it a week, I'm giving it a month. And in between, we're just not resolving our issue, because now the issue is bringing other things. And then that's festering into something that is at one point unrepairable, because I have this bucket of, let's do it later, let's do it later, let's do it later. But what do I do with my bucket in the meantime? What the bucket is still full, and it still shows that in this bucket are situations that clearly we haven't mastered with each other. So I'm happy that you have this point of view of, you know, I am taking the time for myself to calm down, but I will address it and come back to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt.
That's a must.
That's a must, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how did you, I know that you guys have an amazing podcast yourself. It's called the Couples Lounge. How did that come about? Like what how did that happen?
Just it we were doing a book tour for our book. Somebody should have told me, marriage, do we want to know, do you really know what it's about? And it's our energy, our vibe together. But when I look at it on a spiritual level, it was the call. It's a part of the plan that he had for even bringing us together. And so people always talk about our energy together, and they were just like, y'all need your own show. But the name, the Couples Lounge, was something that started in our home. And me and my mom are really creative. So I'm like, I need to come up with a name. And she was the one that actually gave the name. And so I was like, yeah. So we had like a sign on the door. So it kind of just moved over to, into the podcast. And that's what, people see us at Walmart. They're going to couple. We are the Couples Lounge. The people don't even say our name half the time. The Couples Lounge. So that's how it came about. And it was just like, it was a platform to help people, because we always said we wanted to give people what we wish we had before we got to the almost divorce. Like, what is it that we want somebody to know? Right. And so that's what our show topics are all about: love, marriage, relationships, things that even can build up the community. But yeah, so that's how it all started, and been doing it for, it'll be 9 years this year.
Wow. There's so many anniversaries. It's your being married. Like I feel like this really causes for something to really celebrate, you know, for you guys maybe to just acknowledge that and just celebrate each other, because those are huge accomplishments. I'm so, you know, if it means anything, I'm so proud of you guys, because this is really something cool. You know, this is really something cool, because, you know, it's not easy to be married, you know, and then if we play all the roles and we put everything inside, like, you know, your family members, your mothers, your sisters, you know, everybody that plays such a significant role, which you also obviously marry. When you marry somebody, you're not just marrying them, but you're marrying their whole tribe, you know. And so that's really challenging too. What I found, or what I have heard, you know, from other couples, is when you are now deciding to be with somebody, and then there's maybe an interference from, you know, a parent, or like a sister, or a brother or something. And, you know, that's not easy to handle at all, because now you're standing maybe between somebody in your family and your spouse. And how do you navigate that? You know, you don't want to be neglecting anybody in your family, but you also want to be in God's word, where it says, you know, you should obviously cling to your wife.
Yep.
And, you know, that is something that for me was really difficult to experience, when I'm being very honest. You know, that part was really challenging for me, because I did not feel that I got that support from my husband at the time. You know, it was really challenging, because I mean, I also want to admit that I was not the person that I am today. You know, I spoke very quickly in my mind. You know, I did not know how to filter at the time either. So obviously that contributed
Yeah.
not great energy and flow. But the core of it, you know, I didn't receive that. And it was very painful for me, because I felt like I'm not priority. You know, I'm not the number one person, and I'm not that what God talks in the Bible of a wife to a husband.
And that's why I will, because I now know, I will constantly, if we will live by the word, as much, like, you got to be intentional about it. It's the word, because it'll keep different things, but the basic of what it says a husband is to be and a wife is to be together, if you choose. Now, one person may be a little bit farther, you know, in our spiritual walk or whatever, but we got to be intentional about doing this thing like God said do it, and be committed to healing. Because the thing about it is, all of us know people that can quote scripture. If you are not healed or not on a journey for healing, you can know scripture, you can know the word, and those wounds will keep coming forward. And you, ain't nothing wrong with me. You're going to keep showing up. You're going to keep showing up like that. So the more we know, the more we choose to say, I want to live this because of God. Like, that alone has made me do things that my flesh didn't want to do. You know, where I wanted to say this, or I wanted to make this decision, but I was like, because I got to do this one for God. This ain't about him right now. Because if I do it here, where I'm at right now, I got to do this one for God. You know, and so I think if we are intentional about living like that, then it shifts this. It shifts this, and it causes us to show up as one, as what we really are supposed to show up as one. And we can communicate that to our families. And when we can communicate that to our families, either they get on board and respect it, or you ain't got to get on board and respect it, because this is how we choose to be. And I'm not making I guess sometimes you could be making a what's the word where I'm choosing him over my family. But the great thing about it, we really haven't had to do that for the majority of our relationship, you know, just hit and miss at times. But for the most part, we really haven't had to have a family issues. But I've seen it with the couples that we work with. And sometimes people's that codependence on their families, or they feel like, I'm doing this, you know, if I let you go, or if I choose you, definitely husbands, if I choose you over my mama, oh Lord, you know. So but it's being mindful of godly, like, what is the position that he feels he's in, and so let us talk through it. Like, why do you feel like that? And so it's so many different layers. Like, I can talk about relationships for hours on hours on hours, because it's so many dynamics.
It is.
And it all stems back to healing, inner child, growth, spirituality, all of that.
Right. And fundamentally also, you know, in what you choose to live your marriage in. Like, if you really do choose to live your marriage in a godly way, according to the Bible, then there's just principles that's just what it is. And I think you're looking for the word ultimatum.
Right.
Yeah, you know, because at the end of the day, what can you do? You know, if you, regardless if you contributed, for instance, because I love the example that you brought up, you know, when you said husbands and their moms, you know, because that happens a lot. you know, and then, but what do you really do as a husband, you know, when you are in that situation? You know what I mean? Because, okay, is it now you don't get along with my wife, so now I need to not speak to you again? Or what would be, in your opinion, like a correct or a good idea or a good tool to use in that matter? Obviously, have a transparent conversation with your parents about, hey, I need you just to respect her, you know, or him, depending what parent it is. But then if that's not being met, that kind of like request, then what is the outcome? That you're just not spending time anymore? Or what would you suggest to couples when they have that situation? And for instance, the request from a husband to his mom is not being met by the mom, and she still keeps to, let's just say, cause problems, or, you know, be in a need of emotional attention or whatever it else might be, but it's really taking time from the wife or from the unity. What was something that you suggested to couples when they used to have a situation like that?
I just feel like you have a honest conversation with your mom, and it's understanding that she cannot take your place. Because I think that's a lot of women when they sons are going off and get, a wife can't take your place. You a mama. Nobody can fill mama role. Can't nobody fill wife role. Two separate roles. And mama, this doesn't prevent me from loving you, but do my wife have to come first? Absolutely. She does, but I still love you. And it can be, so many times we think things have to be one way. It's so many different choices. It's so many different ways. Okay, mama, I can't come right now. Let me take care of my wife. Let me get this situation situated. I may have to come to you the next day. So I think it's having very honest conversations, but it also may cause you to have self-loving boundaries with your relationship. This is just a boundary that we have, and you got to give mama permission to heal her stuff and know that she gonna be all right. And sometimes you just gotta, no, not sometimes, you gotta take things to God and know that they are gonna be all right.
Yeah.
They're gonna be
I
all
mean,
right with your no. But sometimes you don't, you get all in your head, and so it's just coaching that
yeah.
and asking them, kind of, even for yourself, where is it coming from within you that you feel like you gotta make? And then once they start, like you said, stuff they may have forgotten, but once they're talking about it, it's like, oh my goodness, that's where they come from. And now they can choose to handle it differently and reframe what did happen to see it a different way.
Right. Yeah, and I also truly believe that sometimes those type of conversations, regardless from who to whom they are, they're very uncomfortable if you have never practiced those at the beginning, because there was no need to practice such conversations. Because if you just, you know, dating somebody, for instance, and you're not cohabitating with them, or you're not planning to live life with them, then there's no need to have a conversation like that, because obviously, you know, it's everything is separate. But when you do, you know, when you decide to live life with somebody, you know, those type of conversations, when you never had them, they seem very, you know, intimidating, depending what type of personality your parent is, because there's really strong personalities out there. I know I'm a strong personality, and you know, and I know you're a strong personality, Candace, you know. And so how, you know, I understand that sometimes it's really a challenging thing for somebody to really have those boundaries set in place if they've never been there, you know. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I'm so happy that you guys decided to come and be a part of my journey. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for opening your hearts and sharing your story with me, and letting us understand how you can help our community. If it's okay with you, I would love to post a link of your podcast, the Couples Lounge, and also maybe a link to you guys, if there's maybe any couples out there that are seeking Bible directed guidance. I would love to place it out there so people can find you, and, you know, maybe you can help other people in restoring what should be restored, you know.
Absolutely. So I'll tell y'all people, y'all can go to www.thecoupleslounge.com, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at The Couples Lounge. But I will definitely send you those links as well.
Please do so. And also maybe another link how people can directly get in touch with you. That way, we don't have to do the whole searching, because if there really is a need for a couple at this moment or somebody else, then they can just directly, reach out to you.
Absolutely.
But thank you so very much. I'm so grateful that you guys decided to be my very first couple. I'm so
Thank
happy.
you so much.
This was
It was
such
a
great
pleasure. It
conversation.
was definitely
Absolutely.
a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. No, thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest. And yes, podcast lovers, as of for you, as anytime, if you have anything on your heart, if you like to share something that maybe can help somebody else out there, know that my mic is always open. But until then, stay rooted, stay grounded, and always stay connected to love, the strongest force in the universe.